This episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Fantasy Flex podcast from the Action Network and Fantasy Labs, presented by Yahoo Fantasy. I'm your host, Chris Raybon, and I'm joined by one of the most accurate rankers in the game, Sean Koerner. Sean, you got me in this rookie report last year. Just completely owned me pretty much every pick. How you feeling about that victory?
Good. Hoping to repeat that. I think, we did the running back draft before week one of the preseason. I think I would have drafted a little bit differently had we had that information. But at least, doing this wide receiver draft, we saw a lot of these guys for the first time play. So I've been moving my rankings up and down. So I feel like we have a lot more info, even though it was, 1 week of preseason, but a lot more info to go off for this draft at least.
Yeah, for those new to the show, what we do here is Sean and I just alternate, and we draft 12 rookie wide receivers each. So it's kind of like a little bit of a dynasty flavor to it, but we're really going off best ball ADP right now and just trying to draft value. And the drafter with the most value versus ADP at the end of the year wins. And we do this for every position. We got our quarterback draft and our running back draft out now, so be sure to subscribe to the Fantasy Flex channel so you don't miss an episode all season long. And the ultimate 2025 NFL fantasy football draft kit is here. Sean Koerner and I have you covered with rankings, tiers, cheat sheets, and more to help you navigate your fantasy football drafts in 2025. And new subscribers to Fantasy Labs NFL can use code FLEX20, that's FLEX20, for $20 off, fantasylabs.com/flex. $20 off using code FLEX20 at fantasylabs.com/flex. All right, let's get into it. First, recap of last year. I went Jordan Whittington with the first pick. You went Jermaine Burton. So didn't get up to such a rousing start, but overall, you on average beat ADP you beat me by
it.
yeah, because we both came up. Yeah, so your average ADP was a 72.5, and the average receiver was finished 90.5. So that was a minus 18 for you. I was at minus 25.5 because I drafted a little low. I had average ADP of 77, but average finish of 103. So not good. I got to redeem myself this year. But your key pick last year was in round 5. You got Brian Thomas, 10th overall, after Whittington, Burton, Washington, McMillan, Casey Washington, Johnny Wilson, Anthony Gold, Troy Franklin, and Adonai Mitchell. So a little bit of a rough class, a rough start at least.
Yeah.
Last year, because we try to get some of those the guys with essentially free ADPs and see if we can hit a dart throw. That's generally been the strategy, but man, that didn't work out too well. So good pivot to Brian Thomas Jr. And you also got Ladd McConkey, which at that point was essentially draft over. I got Neighbors, but too little, too late, and too high in. And no one drafted Harrison, which in retrospect actually does look pretty smart.
Yeah.
Based on ADP. That. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I think my favorite's the last round. You got Malik Neighbors, and I got Malachi Corley. So that was fun. But yeah, you have to remember we're drafting against ADP, and as you can see, ADP's it's just the nature of distributions, but ADP is usually higher than where they're going to finish. So we're just trying to draft based on where we think they're going to finish, and sometimes we're trying to take these lower guys and try to catch lightning bottle, like you said. But this year it looks like we have some ADPs in the 190s, so there's a little bit more buffer. I think it's better to kind of do that than cap it at 111. So maybe our average against ADP is going to be closer to even this year, I would hope.
Yeah, I mean it's still tough because you have guys who I think what was there 100 and this is about 180, 190. Sometimes you get 200 wide receivers that score fantasy points. So, but some of these guys may not be there when it's all said and done. That always happens too. But overall, a lot to choose from. So I went first last year. Start us off. Your top pick for rookie value versus ADP at wide receiver 2025. Where are you going?
This is a no-brainer for me. I'm going to go Torrey Horton at wide receiver or 85. I get his ADP is 85. So yeah, love the value I'm getting there. I think he's the kind of guy his value is going up right now. So his ADP is probably going to end up being much higher. But like the value I'm getting with Horton at 85 here.
Yeah, he could be the number 2 receiver at on the Seahawks before it's all said and done. If Kupp, is cooked as he looked at times last year. All right, let's see. That's I would have gone him too. I think that's just screaming. I'm between a couple of guys. I'm gonna go with Deontay Thornton at wide receiver 76. He likely is going to be the starting X receiver in 2 receiver sets for the Raiders. That kind of was one of the developments of the offseason. And he's a guy where I just need a couple of Alec Pierce-like eruptions from him, long touchdowns. That's generally, he's probably going to run a lot of wind sprints, but I think he has some upside at that ADP. And the Raiders are kind of getting slept on a little bit, I think, overall, outside of Ashton Jeanty and Brock Bowers. So yeah, give me Thornton.
And Gino's a good downfield passer, so I think it's a good fit for him. So that would have been one of my top picks, not gonna lie.
All right, where you go next? Round number 2, third overall.
I'm gonna go with Jaden Higgins at wide receiver 51. That was the range that did it for me last year with Brian Thomas Jr. and Ladd McConkey. I don't think he has that kind of upside, but I think he does have a high floor. I think he'll be the number 2 target potentially in this offense behind Nico Collins. I love him as a talent. He went in the second round, just a really good prospect. And yeah, I think at wide receiver 51, I like my chances of, getting some value here. So a little bit early to be taking a guy that honestly, that is kind of going inside the top 60, but I think if anybody deserves it, it'd be Jaden Higgins.
No, yeah, that was definitely going to be one of my picks because I think he's, you mentioned it. A lot of these guys are going to finish below ADP. So if you see a guy that even could just hit value with upside for more in this range, I think it's very valuable. So I'm going to actually follow suit. I'm going to go with Matthew Golden. I love me some Golden. And as we record this, Packer receivers are dropping like flies, it appears. I mean, you had first we knew Watson was out. Then you had Reed pop up with a walking boot, and now Romeo Doubs might have a back injury, or he does have a back injury. I think the severity is still a question mark. So Golden, he could be the number 1 wide receiver just because of lack of competition, not even because he earned it, but he looked like he's earning it either way. So a lot of things to like with him at wide receiver 44. I think I still got some wiggle room there. So Horton, Thornton, Higgins, Golden, top 4 picks, round 3. Kick it off.
Yeah, so I like your Golden pick, and I'm going to kind of piggyback that in a bit. This Packers wide receiver depth chart is decimated right now, so I'm going to go with their other rookie wide receiver. I don't know what you'd call him, but Savion Williams at wide receiver 147. More of a gadget player. I don't know, like a Cordell Patterson, Wan'Dale Robinson type. I think he's going to kind of have his own unique role. So I think that gives him sort of a high floor, where he could get some design carries, some schemed up, screen passes, things like that. So I think that like he has a high enough floor. We're getting him wide receiver 147 makes a ton of sense here. And yeah, they're losing so many receivers. He might have to step up sooner than later. Although I did see that it looks like Christian Watson might return by week 5. That was surprising. But he can never stay healthy. So I'll have to look into that more. But either way, just this wide receiver depth chart is looking pretty thin. So I like the idea of taking their 3rd round pick to also step up behind Matthew Golden.
Yeah, and at one point he was dealing with an injury too. But see, I think he returned to practice and all these other guys are dropping. So I think I kind of envision him as like a bigger version of what they do with Jaden Reed. Obviously, not to that. He's not going to play 60% of the snaps. Well, unless things the injuries really catch up to them. But a lot of carries, line up in the backfield, slot snaps, out just kind of like you said, a gadget guy. So yeah, he was squarely in my sights there. That's a good pick.
They might have to get Bo Melton back. Like he's messing
take
around
him off
cornerback. Bring him back to wide receiver.
Maybe Bo Melton will be Travis Hunter.
Exactly.
It's my pick.
It's your pick.
Yeah. Give me some Travis Hunter. Do wide receiver 32? Well. Yeah. I'm gonna get that out of the way now. I think, and you kind of said it in our wide receiver 3 pod. I think this is kind of the floor for Hunter now that we know, or at least we think he's gonna play 80+% of the snaps. That's what Liam Cohen said in the first preseason game. He played 87 or ran a route on 87% of the dropbacks. So it's going to be hard for him not to at least finish in the 30s if he doesn't get hurt. Yeah. And I think he has upside. I mean, top 10 upside if things go very right. So yeah, give me some Hunter. He's just too good.
I'm going to go with Isaac Tisslaw. Out of Arkansas. I think he's going to be the Lions' number 3 receiver this year. I don't think Tim Patrick showed enough last year to hold him off. Tisslaw might not get a ton of playing time as a result, but he's looked really good. So even in limited playing time, I think he could beat this wide receiver 88, especially, if he's part of red zone packages. I think he could be. And, again, if Amon-Ra or JMO were to miss any time, he would have to step up when they're out. So I think there's paths for him to clear this. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Tisslaw at wide receiver 88 here.
Yeah, like in best ball leagues, I think he's a great pick here. In traditional redraft, I don't think he's going to get to the point where he's fantasy relevant, even if he does win that job, at least not this year, and barring injury. But yeah, I think they see him as the long-term Tim Patrick role. Maybe Patrick starts, week 1 and 2. Maybe he even gets didn't they do that with Josh Reynolds a couple years ago where he started early on and then they cut him mid-season? I could see something like that because he's on Patrick is on a 1-year deal. They still have Khalif Raymond who will kind of mix in as well as the gadget guy. So yeah, Tislaw's been having a great camp. Yeah, why not? I'm just gonna load up on the guys in the 40s. So let's go with Mecca Ibuka, another guy who Chris Godwin looking iffy, Ibuka looking good, 1st round pick, great offense for wide receivers. He's got a lot of upside. I think he kind of snuck up on people just because he went higher than I think it was thought he would go in the NFL draft, and then it looked like it was crowded. But then, of course, we get the negative news on Godwin, because why would they tell us about that, any earlier than they had to? And it seems like Godwin's more than likely to miss a couple games at the start. So Ibuka's trending way up, I think, even at wide receiver 42. I mean, I think he's another guy, probably still closer to his floor than his ceiling as that price. Yep. Fantasy Flex listeners, we've got a big announcement. We'll be having a live event on August 23rd presented by Yahoo Fantasy. Joe's on Weed Street in Chicago. I'll be there. Sean will be there. We'll have special guests as well. It's free to attend. You just need to RSVP. There's a link to RSVP in the episode description. Excited to see y'all there. Again, that's August 23rd at Joe's Bar on Weed Street in Chicago. Fantasy Flex live event presented by Yahoo Fantasy. All right. Round 5. We're doing 12 rounds. Rookie wide receivers, 2025 Fantasy Flex. Sean Koerner, you're up.
Yeah, this is a tricky one. I don't think there's an obvious pick right now. I'm going to go with Pat Bryant at wide receiver 74 for the Broncos. It looks like, Marvin Mims is probably a lock to be the number 2 receiver next to Cortland Sutton. But outside of that, it's kind of a shit show or a shit hole. And, I think Pat Bryant, he was drafted in the 3rd round. I think they're kind of expecting him to kind of step up in year one. So I think that he has a high enough floor and ceiling to kind of take in this range. There is some uncertainty there, but I think that kind of helps him in this spot, especially around wide receiver 74. He probably doesn't have to do that much as a rookie. And week one of preseason, I know that's not a big sample. He did lead the receivers in routes run, receptions, yards. So they're obviously trying to ramp him up for the season. He looked good. So I'm going to go with Pat Bryant here.
Yeah, he's kind of being slept on. Like I could see him having a breakout year one. Sean Payton loves him. There's still I think more to kind of figure out with that rotation. Denver's always so confusing because they just use so many players and their preseason usage doesn't always even correlate. So, but yeah, I think they really like him and they're going to give him every chance to kind of win that number 2 role, and then Mims can kind of be, joker. It's not like imperative that Mims be the true number 2 receiver. They just want him to get snaps somewhere. Give me Lambert Smith at wide receiver 89. Initially, I thought it was going to be Trey Harris as the wide receiver, the rookie to own in LA, and then Williams retired, but they get Keenan Allen. But just the way the usage has been split between the X and the Z in camp, Lambert Smith I think he has a better path to playing time because he's behind Quentin Johnston, who is resting with the starters, but I think Keenan Allen, even though he signed later, is less likely to lose his job or get overtaken, even at this stage, by Harris, at least it seems, than Johnston, because Johnston has been so up and down. So, and I think Lambert Smith has looked good in his action in the preseason. So it's kind of a long shot here, but wide receiver 89, there's a big split between a guy like him who I think has some upside to get into the top 60, 50 versus now we're looking at guys, 116 and below in ADP. It's a little bit more of an ask. So I'm gonna roll with Lambert Smith. I like what I've seen. So 5 rounds deep in our rookie draft, we got Horton, Higgins, Williams to Slaw, and Pat Bryant for Sean. And I got Deontay Thornton, Matthew Golden, Travis Hunter, Emeka Ibuka, and Keandre Lambert Smith. Round 6, and then we'll be halfway through. Where are you going, Sean Koerner?
I'm going to go with Alec Iomanner on the Titans. He's out of Stanford. They took him in the 4th round. They're really trying to figure out who the hell is going to be the number 2 wide receiver. It's still wide open. They brought in Tyler Lockett, who I think is well past his prime. Treylon Burks had a chance to finally step up, but he's gone. So I think Iomanner could be the guy. I've liked what I've seen from him so far in camp. And, I'm right around his ADP at 87, but I think there is a high enough floor just given how wide open this depth chart is and how much they probably want him to actually step up to be the guy. They're probably going to give him every chance possible in year one. So I kind of like the floor ceiling combo here at wide receiver 87 for the Titans.
Yeah, it's a log jam, but I guess the hope is that they don't just roll with Van Jefferson and Lockett all year, because if they do, that wouldn't be any fun. But it seems like they want to get younger because they also drafted, they drafted the 2 rookies and they got Restrepo there and they got some young guys on the roster, holdovers from last year. So I think that, Iomanner kind of stands out as the guy who, if there was a guy to kind of take over, it would be him at this point. Maybe Bryce Oliver, but I don't think he did enough last year to really. I think they've moved on. All right, round 6 in our Fantasy Flex rookie wide receiver draft. Let's go with the guy who I thought just eye test wise was a lot of fun, and just because he's going 132 in ADP, he has a decent chance to beat this as a gadget guy with Jonte Wester for the Ravens. I mean, this team just continues to draft so well, fill out the bottom of the roster so well, and they found another one, 6th round pick. I was excited about him when he first, I think it was like a transfer to Colorado, and I knew he had some juice, and man, he looked good in that opening preseason game against the Colts for the Ravens. Did some things on kick returns, did some things as a receiver, so I could see him win that number 4 receiver job even from a guy like Tez Walker, or be like a Duvernay was a couple years ago when he just kind of bursted on the scene and came out of nowhere and was, I don't want to say fantasy relevant, but definitely was putting up some usable weeks at times. So I think that's kind of where I see Wester potentially landing. So I'll roll with him as my 6th round pick here.
Yeah, he looked good. I think he had one of the highest PFF grades of all the rookies in week 1. He had that nice 30-yard catch. So yeah, he's definitely a sneaky pick, way down there in ADP.
Love those guys down here. I feel like that's kind of the make or break. Although last year, you got me in the mid 50s, but we all kind of cleaned those guys out already. So
yeah,
it's progressing. We got Horton, Thornton, Higgins, Golden, Savion Williams, Travis Hunter, Tislaw, Abuka was round 4, Bryant, Lambert, Smith round 5, Ayumanor, and Wester round 6. And now that we're halfway through our rookie wide receiver draft here on the Fantasy Flex, let's do a quick segment presented by Yahoo Fantasy on rookie sleepers. Maybe, Sean, it's someone you've already selected, or maybe it's someone who you got eyes on picking next, but who is your top rookie wide receiver sleeper from this year's class?
It's got to be Torrey Horton, but I've talked about him enough. So I'm going to talk about another guy I like, and it's Kyle Williams of the Patriots. He's going outside of the top 60. So, he's a guy you draft in deeper leagues, but I think he's a sleeper pick because the Patriots took him in the 3rd round, and he gets paired up with Drake May, who's, potentially going to break out in year 2. He's certainly an ascending quarterback. Doesn't have too much pressure on him in this spot because Stephon Diggs will be, the top dog in this offense, at least to start. So they can kind of ease him in where he might, be the 3rd or 4th wide receiver to start the season. But I love him as a talent. He's a very good route runner. He gets open. Looked excellent in week 1 of the preseason. He saw 4 targets, didn't catch a single one, but one of them he was open in the end zone and Josh Dobbs just threw a terrible pass. So the fact that he didn't catch a ball, didn't catch that touchdown, means luckily he's still under the radar here. I think he could have had a big game and then his ADP would have gone up. So I think Kyle Williams is still sneaky outside of the top 60. I think by the end of the season, he could be the number 2 receiver in this offense with Drake May, potentially having a breakout season. So I like, drafting guys like that outside of the top 60 that could be paired up with a quarterback I'm very high on this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Love Drake May. Think he makes the players around him better. Big opportunity for Kyle Williams in year 1. I'm going to roll with a guy I know you like, Sean, Jaden Higgins, wide receiver, just outside the top 50. Probably starts the year as Houston's number 3 wide receiver. He could play in 2 wide sets, though, because Christian Kirk may just play in the slot. We'll see how that goes. But I think by the time it's all said and done, Higgins will be the clear number 2 behind Nico Collins. He's got that kind of talent. And, he got the big contract for a 2nd rounder. He looks like well ahead of his teammate, Jalen Noel, in terms of the depth chart from the first preseason game, at least. So we'll see how that progresses. But can't really complain too much about anything with Higgins. And you got CJ Stroud and a team that, I don't know, I think Houston's kind of a little bit mediocre. So I do think they'll have to pass. And now with the injury to Joe Mixon, there could be some fantasy goodness up for grabs here behind Nico. It's wide open, and I think Higgins is going to be the high leverage target guy, almost like a Gabe Davis was early in his career for the Bills. So Those are your rookie sweepers presented by Yahoo Fantasy. Once again, Kyle Williams, Jaden Higgins. And as a reminder, this episode of the Fantasy Flex is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. It is my favorite time of the year. The NFL season, it's almost here, which means fantasy football drafts are in full swing. And this year, Sean and I are playing over at Yahoo Fantasy, and they are taking it up to another level, giving you a fantasy football experience like none other. We are super excited for all the new and innovative features Yahoo is rolling out this year. And in fact, to celebrate 28 years of fantasy football greatness, Yahoo Fantasy will be dropping 28 big new features over 28 days here in the month of August. And to kick things off, they just released the Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine Leagues, a killer new way to play fantasy football where the lowest scoring team gets chopped every week until there's just one team left standing. And with the NFL season right around the corner, now is the time. Get your league mates together. Give the new Yahoo Guillotine Leagues a try. They're a lot of fun. But if you're still just into the classics, you can always play head-to-head private leagues. You can always play in public leagues just like you're used to. But stay tuned for more killer announcements and start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football right now at yahoofantasy.com/flex. That's yahoofantasy.com/flex. All right, Sean, lead it off. Round 7. Where are you going? Rookie wide receivers 2025.
Well, I mean, I just talked about him, so I got to go with Kyle Williams. I just mentioned, I think he's a good sleeper pick this year. Paired up with Drake May. Doesn't have a ton of pressure because, Stephon Diggs is the guy. So, he might start the season as the number 3 or number 4 wide receiver, but I think he'll ascend. He's, an excellent route runner, excellent getting open, and he's a big play threat. He averaged over 17 yards a reception last season at Washington State. So love his upside. And his preseason game, he didn't catch a single pass, but he looked great doing it. And one of them was he made a great move. I think it was an in route, and he was open, and Josh Dobbs just didn't put it in the basket. So I think he could have easily scored a touchdown if that was Drake May under center. So I think he's a sneaky pick. Probably won't offer a ton of value at wide receiver 60, but I think he has a high enough floor to at least get there.
Yeah, Kyle Williams, I was really excited for him to go to New England. I think he is just coming to a place with a lot of opportunity. I mean, you look at that depth chart, and there's no one that really stands out outside of Diggs. He could be the number 2 receiver sooner than later. Just got to kind of sort things out, but certainly has the talent. And we just got to hope it's not the New England curse, right? Where Belichick's long gone, but you did bring some of his cronies back in. So we'll see how that goes. But cautiously optimistic about Kyle Williams. I'm going to stay right in that ADP range. I think it's time to go with Luther Bird in the 3rd here. Was a lot more bullish on him earlier in camp, but the way it's shaping up, he may not beat out Olamide Zaccheaus for the number 3 role before the start of the season. So he could take a little while to get going. But when I look at the depth chart, unlike a lot of the other receivers here, even if they're the number 4 or they're expected to be the number 4, it's a little bit murkier. Whereas Burden, we expected him to be the number 3, and he kind of just landed in the number 4 spot, but minimal competition behind him, and he should be able to pass up Zaccheaus at some point. I know Zaccheaus has played well in limited role, but Burden just has the juice. I think 2nd round pick, and they went back to the skill positions after they go with Loveland in round 1. So I think that tells you that they are planning to use him, and they're probably kind of keeping him under wraps a little bit more than they're letting on. I know he played after some other veterans in the first preseason game, but it happens with rookies. I'm betting on the talent here, and got at least a little room at 59. All right, we're through 7. Round 8, rookie wide receivers 2025 fantasy flex. Sean, where are you going?
I'm going to go down the ADP list here. I'm going to go with Ty Felton at wide receiver 24. The Vikings took him in the 3rd round. He's an interesting prospect. He's definitely a speedster. He had 4.37 speed, more of a downfield threat. So I think he can kind of carve out his own unique role in the offense, where he might not need a ton of playing time to, get a couple long passes, maybe like a discount Alec Pierce type. But, with Jordan Edison already suspended the first 3 games, he could have a shot early in the season to run some routes. So I think, wide receiver 24, he has a decent shot to beat that if all things go right. But if any injuries happen, Justin Jefferson's injury spills into the season, he could have some opportunity. So I like Felton's upside here outside of the top 120.
Yeah, it's what is he having? Who's he have in front of him? Lucky
Naylor.
Jackson.
Well, yeah. He
like I think that shouldn't be too hard to jump.
Yeah. Naylor's definitely ahead of him, right?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. Yeah.
When Addison's out, Naylor's the guy that's stepping up. But yeah, either Lucky Jackson or Felton will have to step up. So I'm banking on some potential week 1 to 3 reps. But yeah, anything can happen. It's a situation where just one of those top 3 receivers get miss time. He'll have to step up. So I like his floor ceiling combo as a result.
Alrighty. Round 8 for me here on the Fantasy Flex rookie wide receiver draft for 2025. Koerner just went Ty Felton of the Vikings, third rounder out of Maryland. I'm going to go... Yeah, I'll scoop Jalen Noel at this point. It is crowded in that Houston room, but I think the expectation ultimately is that he ends up as the number 4 receiver, and I do think there's a path for him to climb the depth chart even more, a la Tank Dell a couple years ago. Now Dell actually made noise, made a lot more noise in camp and whatnot. So I don't think he's going to be anything like that, but I do want to take a shot on him in this range before I go dumpster diving for probably the remainder of the draft.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to hop in that trash can and I'm going to try to pry out a he's outside of the top 160. I'm going with Conta Mumfield of the Rams. They took him in the 7th round, but I'm hoping for another potential Puka situation where the Rams know something we don't. He looked okay. He played a shit ton in their first game. He ran 20 routes with Stenson Bennett throwing him the ball, caught 2 passes for 24 yards. But this is a depth chart behind the top 3 where really anything can happen. So there's some opportunities for him if any of the top 3 miss time. He or Jordan Whittington could step in and get some playing time. And, wide receiver 162, he doesn't have to do much as a rookie. Like, I need him to just catch a few balls, please. And then we'll get there because, like you said, I think, there's going to be 180 to 200 wide receivers that even score points this year. So he's a guy that I don't need to do a ton, but if he can exceed this, he could really exceed it and, finish in the top 140. Who knows? But I kind of like just at this point in the draft getting someone like that just because his ADP is so freaking low.
Yeah, no, he kind of stands out because you're right. I think even that number 4 is probably not as solidified with Whittington because I noticed that at times last year, they didn't trust Whittington as much in the pass game as I thought they would. He played a lot. We saw it in the preseason, and he looked good. But during the regular season, there were a lot of times when his role was just run blocker, and he would play, 10, 15 snaps and barely run a route. So maybe that job is more open than we think it is. I do think Tu Atwell is locked into the number 3, but you have, with the Rams, that number 4 can be, as we've seen with, Atwell or Demarcus Robinson at times and some other guys, that can be valuable, especially when you're getting them that low. I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna go with Arian Smith for the Jets at 128. I just think this is another depth chart wide open. He can do some things down the field. You're talking about Josh Reynolds, Tyler Johnson, Alan Lazard, Malachi Corley as the guys you have to beat out. So I think we're gonna see Smith, maybe even undrafted Jamal Pritchett. I think we're going to see one of those guys play a significant role at some point sooner than later for the Jets because that receiver depth chart is whoo man.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, Lazard's out. I saw Mason Taylor like had a high ankle sprain and now he's back like balling out. What the hell happened there? But yeah, the wide receivers are a problem for them.
Yeah, and yeah, the Jets were just weird in general with this last weekend. I noticed that too because Ruckert seemed like he was moving up in the ahead of Taylor just because Taylor was out. But then I also saw that Ruckert is kind of on the roster bubble, and that could also be why he's playing all these first team snaps. And now that Taylor's back, yeah, I think there's a chance that Ruckert's off the roster. I think there's a chance that Lazard he's out officially now, or
no, he's just dealing with something.
Yeah, he's got an injury, right?
He's banged up.
He's probably not long for the roster.
yeah, he's actually out a couple weeks. It's a shoulder injury. It's worse than I thought. So he's out a couple weeks. So that if you're saying he's on the roster bubble, Aaron Rodgers is out of town. That's the only reason why he's there. That could spell trouble for him.
Yeah, because I know the contract initially was bad, but let me see what would be the in 2025 base salary of 2.2 million, cap hit of 4.6. Yeah, he still has a lot of dead cap, so it's probably more of a healthy and active situation. I mean, 8 million dead cap. Yeah, eesh, what a contract. That's much worse than Bradley Beal, honestly. Bradley Beal at least can give you startable.
Yeah, that's true.
At times, I don't know about Lazard anymore. But Aaron Rodgers is gone.
Yeesh, can't go there. I'm gonna just really. I'm gonna
tell us who you're researching, by the way.
I'm gonna go. I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna go with Xavier Restrepo at wide receiver million. He's 197. I mean, he's got to be less than a coin flip to catch a pass this season, but like it's gonna be hard to really do much worse than 197 because I think only like 202 wide receivers caught a pass last year. So I'm getting a high floor here with Restrepo. But he was Cam Ward's teammate at Miami, so I think he does have that going for him. So I think he's got a shot to make the team, especially with the depth chart wide open. This is also kind of IO Manor insurance for me. I already took him earlier in the draft, so I'm kind of hedging my bets here. With two of the receivers in this battle. So Restrepo, I think he might not make the team. He might not catch a pass this season. But at wide receiver 197, why not? Like, I think worst case scenario, I lose like 7 slots here. And that's better than anybody else I think I could project right now. So I'm going to go with Restrepo.
That was where I was going to go.
Good. I'm glad I did it then. I was really debating that. Do you think what percent chance he makes the team? What'd you set it at? Because I know you're locked in.
Like the initial things. Week 1, or just makes the roster at any point?
Oh, well, yeah, that's a different question. Yeah, I guess week 1 would be pretty thin, but he'd probably be on the practice squad.
I would think he would make the practice squad off the connection with Ward. So I would say plays in a game this year or catches a pass this year. I would say odds probably maybe like 20 in the 25 to 40% range. I would say.
Oh, 40? Yeah.
I mean, I would say, yeah, because I think what generally happens with teams like this, where you got this like weird mix of like kind of past their prime veterans and green rookies, is the veterans will probably start the year. They might get hurt or get cut or just fall out of favor, and then there would be like a smorgasbord of a plethora of these younger guys kind of mixing in maybe by week. Like who knows? So
Yeah.
I think we'll see Oliver and maybe even Jaquan Jackson again. Maybe we'll get. My pick is going to be DK though. I got to go with him just because you got the other two rookies.
Yeah.
For the Titans. So I could either screw myself with this pick, but because it's at 153, or I could make some headway if he ends up, because I know he's going to do some things in the return game. So he does have a decent path to a roster, maybe even an active roster spot, I would say. Because if Ayumanor doesn't beat out Jefferson, and he's not going to be out really, obviously. So if he doesn't beat out Jefferson, there is a chance he could actually be they wouldn't risk the practice squad with him. So he'd be on the roster, but he would be, I think, at risk for an inactive week one, say, whereas a guy like DK should get there on special teams. So I'm just gonna play the game theory game with Shimray, DK of the Titans.
What a shit show or shithole this depth chart is. But yeah, I think Restrepo will be on the practice squad when it's time to call him up. It's either him or Matt Landers, and I think I know who they'll go with. So I would say Matt Landers, baby.
I know.
But yeah, 40. I would love a 40% chance at a reception. I'm with you. I think it's closer to 25% chance, but I think with these ADPs, we're not asking for much. So yeah, I like DK there, and that's a good game theory pick. You could really screw me over with that. That might win you the draft if he hits us here.
Yeah, I think it would screw me less than it has the potential to help me. So yeah, I'm feeling good about it. But we got 2 rounds left. Round 11, round 12. These are, we probably didn't even have to do these, but we love this kind of stuff. We are degenerates. So let's get it going. Let's finish strong. 4 more picks, Fantasy Flex 2025 rookie wide receiver draft. Sean Koerner, Chris Raybon. Sean Koerner, you're up. Round 11.
All right. Well, this is rough. I'm going to go with Jalen Lane at wide receiver 116. The Commanders took him in the 4th round. Kind of a gadget player, like a Kadarius Toney type guy. Mm-hmm. He might return punts. I think KJ Osborne kind of has the inside track there. But this wide receiver depth chart, similar to the Titans, it's kind of wide open once you get past Terry McLaurin and Debo. And I guess Noah Brown too. But there's a path for him to kind of carve out a role where wide receiver 116, he doesn't have to do too much to not kill me. And, with the Terry McLaurin situation, anything can happen, I guess. So, he's probably going to be a negative for me, but I think he's going to see enough playing time as a rookie with the 4th round draft capital to kind of give me a higher floor, so to speak. So I like the kind of the floor ceiling combo this late in the draft with Jalen Lane.
Yeah, I was thinking of going to him next just because exactly that reason based on the ADP. And there's a guy I wanted to go with, but now he's got an injury situation. So I think I'm going to go. Yep. Because I figured that he was going to factor in, and of course he catches a long pass right away and then gets hurt. What did I say about Kyle Shanahan and this team? Like every skill player already, man, it's nuts. So my pick officially is going to be Jalen Royals. It's got to be Royals because he does have a chance. There is a path between the suspensions, the injuries, the talent that Royals has, that he could end up as a fantasy relevant player at some point this year for the Chiefs. They're going to be playing Juju Smith-Schuster probably as a number 4 because they like him in that blocking role. But it's conceivable if Royals shows out good enough as a receiver, they have no choice. And then you're also talking about suspensions for Rice. You're talking about I think Rice and Brown were banged up. So just a lot of moving pieces. It is rich. It could hurt me at 82, but a lot of smart people I know Also like the guy's talent. I haven't seen too much of him, but what I have seen, I like it too. And I always trust Andy Reid and what they got going on there in KC. So I mean, Tyquan Thornton, Sky Moore, those guys are the guys
Yeah.
after him.
Oh,
So
Sky Moore. Whew,
yeah,
pour one out.
I mean, I guess that's a maybe that's could be looked at as a knock too, because you say, hey, but they've drafted a ton of good wide receivers in this part of the draft as well. So cautiously optimistic on Royals. Round 12. How we ending it?
I'm gonna kind of copy your Malik Neighbors style pick here. I'm gonna go with Tet McMillan, T-Mac
Smart.
at wide receiver 22. If he gets hurt, I am screwed at wide receiver 22. But I think he definitely has. I think his floor is top 30. I would say. I think he has a wider range than people think. My comp for him was definitely Kenny Golladay. Lions Kenny Golladay, but he could be Giants Kenny Golladay. I think he has a wide range of outcomes. You know, we can't be too sure about this guy, but I think after what I saw week one, his connection with Bryce Young, he's going to be the top dog in this offense. And wide receiver 22, that's not too bad. He's being drafted inside the top 20 right now, so I think at wide receiver 22, he should get close enough where I'm not going to get screwed this late in the draft. But again, if he gets hurt, just having this wide receiver 22 capital could burn me. But I like his floor. I think he'll be a top 30 wide receiver if he stays healthy. So don't mind getting him round 12. This is when you got Malik Neighbors at wide receiver 25. So I think it's safe enough spot to take him.
Yeah, he goes lower than that in traditional redraft. Obviously, he is right now. So I have him at wide receiver 30. Sometimes he's all over the place actually in ADP. I should say, but I have him wide receiver 30. But for the game theory here, yeah, I think it makes sense because I'm actually gonna go with it's between Besh and Trey Harris because the guys that are low, I could still we have almost 200 guys ranked, so I could still easily lose 100 there if they don't play. So I might as well take a shot at somebody who could climb the depth chart. I think I'm still gonna go with Trey Harris because I still think the ultimate case for him to get playing time makes more sense. Whereas Besh it did kind of set up a little oddly with they have like all these slot receivers and he's been playing he played a lot of slot in college and now he might have to transition outside, but Thornton's ahead of him. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go Trey Harris even though he's at 58. It'll probably burn me, but I like the player. And I mean, we're talking about a potentially cooked Keenan Allen and Quentin Johnson, who's not really a guy that ever blossomed into what we thought he would and could still be a bust, honestly. I mean, that's not out of the question either. He's kind of at a crossroads right now. I don't think he's really proven himself. So yeah, I think I got an opening in it. Maybe it'll be Lambert Smith insurance push come to shove. So don't love the cost, but love the player. Trey Harris will be Mr. Irrelevant in our 2025 Fantasy Flex wide receiver rookie draft. So to recap, Koerner's picks, he was first in each round. So Torrey Horton, Jaden Higgins, Savion Williams, Isaac Teslaw, Pat Bryant, Ewick Ayamanor, Kyle Williams, Ty Felton, Konata Mumpfield, Xavier Restrepo, Jalen Lane, and Tet McMillan. For Sean Koerner, I went Deontay Thornton, Matthew Golden, Travis Hunter, Emeka Ibuka, Keandre Lambert-Smith, LeJontay Wester of the Ravens, Luther Burden III, Jalen Noel, Arian Smith, Chimere DK, Jalen Royals, and Trey Harris. This could be competitive. I can't even call it. Like this is there's just so many guys that we picked that are in that top 50, 60 that could kind of mess things up if they get hurt. But then there wasn't as much selection as usual outside in that sweet spot outside the top 100. So yeah, this This could go any which way. Any predictions?
No, yeah, I think it's going to be close. I liked what you did with DK, kind of sabotaging my Titans stack. He could be a critical player in this whole mess. But yeah, I think the fact that we did expand the ADP past 111, I think is going to make it more competitive. Where yeah, it's a little bit more of a true ADP this time, where we won't get completely burned by some of these late round guys. So yeah, I think it'll be close, but yeah, can't wait to see how this turns out.
What was Puka his rookie year? He was around like 160 or something like that, right?
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah, he was definitely undrafted and like way after the top 100, right?
Yeah, so I'm
Yeah.
like when you said Mumfield, I was like, oh wow, that you never know when you're gonna get the next
Yeah, exactly.
Puka
Who
Nacua.
knows?
Once every
Yeah.
decade or five, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's going to be it. Wide Receivers 2025 Fantasy Flex presented by Yahoo Fantasy. We'll do our tight end week next week, so be sure to subscribe to the Fantasy Flex podcast so you don't miss an episode all off season and all season long as well. And check out fantasylabs.com for all of Sean and I's fantasy football content. Don't forget, you can also download the new Fantasy Labs app. And you can use promo code FLEX20 for $20 off an NFL subscription right now. Again, that's code FLEX20 at fantasylabs.com or the Fantasy Labs app. We got our live event presented by Yahoo Fantasy, August 23rd in Chicago. Joe's on Weed Street is the location. It is absolutely free to attend. All you got to do, RSVP, and come kick it with us. The link is in the episode description. You can find Sean on X at @_oddsmaker. I'm at Chris Raybon. We're at those same handles on the free award-winning Action Network app. Once again, shouts to our sponsor, Yahoo Fantasy, the best place to play fantasy football. Until tight ends week, let's get this money.